Get out. Take the child and never come back. Angela Cole's voice cracked like thunder against marble walls. The grand doors of the Cole estate on Victoria Island gaped open, spilling hot afternoon light onto the foyer. The baby in Zara's arms stirred at the sound and let out a small, frightened cry. Zara pressed her cheek to the newborn's soft hair and whispered, "Show, Zion, mommy's here." Her hands shook, but she wouldn't let her fear show. Two uniformed guards hovered by the pillars, unsure how far to go. The housekeeper, Auntie B.R.T, stood frozen near the staircase with tears in her eyes. On the glossy console table between them lay a folder stamped with the gold seal of Cole Holdings. The top page, the one Angela had flung open in front of everyone, was the late-night draft of a will. Bold letters named Zion Zara Cole as primary heir to the Cole fortune. "Do you think I'm blind?" Angela hissed, black gelly wrapped tight like a crown, her eyes two dark fires. 32 years I carried this name. 32 years I kept the home while DeAndre chased deals across oceans. And you, her fingers stabbed the air at Zara. You slide in as a maid and ruin what I built? Every property, every company share, every trust, centered on your child. Zara swallowed hard. She was 22, small, and cute in a simple Ankara wrapper, her braids tucked into a neat bun. Nothing about her looked like a threat, but in that moment, she knew she represented everything Angela feared. Loss, shame, a future not under her control. "Ma," Zara said softly, using the respectful title she'd always used in this house. "I never wanted to disrespect you, Mr. Cole." "Don't call him that," Angela snapped. "You call him what you called him behind my back?" She laughed, but the sound had no joy. "He is on a flight to Atlanta. He will be unreachable for hours. And by the time he lands, you and that child will be far from here." Something cold slid through Zara's chest. "Please, at least let me wait inside until the sun cools." "The baby." "No," Angela motioned to the guards. "Escort her to the gate." The guards shifted, embarrassed. "Madam, the baby is only 2 weeks. Did you hear me?" Angela's voice rose again. "To the gate." Zara hugged Zion closer. She could feel the tiny heartbeat, fast as a drum. "Auntie B.R.T, she whispered, eyes pleading. Auntie B.R.T took one slow step forward. "Madam Angela, a beg," she said gently. "Let the girl sit in the shade. This Lagos heat is too much." Angela didn't look at the housekeeper. She looked at the will, at the 4 neat signatures. DeAndre Cole, CEO. Attorney Kalu Okoro, 2 witnesses. She looked at the line that transferred controlling interest in Cole Holdings to a newborn baby. To a child who carried her husband's surname next to the maid's first name. Angela closed her eyes, and the moment cracked open to the memory of that morning. She had gone into DeAndre's study to find a file for the accountant. It wasn't snooping. She knew exactly where everything lived. The black safe had always been locked, but the door was ajar, careless, for a man like her husband. Inside, a velvet pouch with DeAndre's father's cufflinks, a cluster of passports, and a slim binder labeled Estate, Revised. Angela had lifted the binder, curious. When she read the first page, she sat down like her knees had failed. Zion. A boy's name, barely a fortnight old. The will didn't insult her. It erased her. It did not accuse her of anything. It simply walked past her as if she were a guest in her own home. Angela had closed the binder with careful hands, placed it on the desk, and stared at the Lagos skyline. All those years, IVF cycles that broke her body, adoption applications that fell through, church nights where she cried into the cloth on the altar. The world called her powerful, fashionable, Madam Angel. None of those names softened what it meant to be childless beside a man who wanted a legacy more than he wanted to breathe. When she finally looked up from the skyline, a small framed photo on the shelf caught her eye. New. She was sure of it. DeAndre with a sleeping baby on his chest, a hospital band around his wrist. The tenderness in his face was something she had never received. That was when Angela decided she couldn't wait for him to return and explain this like a business plan. She would make a move before the move swallowed her. Now, back in the foyer, Angela straightened her shoulders. "Take her out," she said. "Now." Zara stepped backward toward the Sunsplash steps. The guards followed, hesitant. As she crossed the threshold, hot air hit her like a wall. The gate shimmered at the end of the long driveway, past the water fountain and the palm trees. Her legs felt weak, but she kept walking. She had learned, in the months since Zion's birth, that fear had two heads, one that made you freeze and one that made you move. Today she chose to move. Outside the main doors, the world was loud. Car horns in the distance, birds calling, the faint buzz of a generator. The security man at the gate took off his cap when he saw her. "Ah, Zara," he said softly. "What's happening?" She shook her head, unable to speak. Sweat slid down her back. The baby fussed. She shifted him to her other arm and sang a quiet lullaby her mother used to sing in Port Harcourt. Zion settled, his tiny mouth forming an O. "You can sit in the guardhouse," the gate man offered. Before she could answer, the estate's intercom crackled. Angela's voice. "Chitty, do not let her sit inside. Open the gate and let her pass. If she refuses, call the police." Chitty winced. "Madam said." "I heard," Zara said. Her voice was steady in a way that surprised her. "Please, just open." The heavy gate slid back with a low groan. The world outside the estate looked different from the inside. The boulevard was the same. B.R.T. buses, Okadas weaving, a woman balancing a tray of oranges, but it felt sharper, like the edges could cut. Zara stepped out with Zion. She reached for her small bag, a diaper cloth, a water bottle, a folded birth certificate, but realized she'd left it on the kitchen stool in the rush. She turned instinctively, and there, at the far end of the driveway, Angela stood like a statue in the heat haze, the wool folder tucked under her arm, her face unreadable. "Keep going," Angela called. Zara did. She walked to the corner and found the sliver of shade cast by a bougainvillea wall. The scent of the flowers was heavy, almost sweet enough to make her forget. She adjusted Zion's cap to shield his face. When she looked up again, a black Prado rolled to a slow stop in front of her. The window slid down. A man in a suit leaned across the passenger seat. "Miss Zara." Her stomach tightened. "Yes. I'm from Attorney Okoro's office," he said. "Mr. Cole asked us to deliver documents to you in case of an emergency." Zara blinked. "Emergency?" The man glanced at the baby and then at the estate gate behind her. "May I speak with you somewhere private?" "Right here is fine," she said. She didn't trust cars, didn't trust rooms where doors could lock. He nodded, pulled a slim envelope from a briefcase, and passed it through the window. "Inside is a court application Mr. Okoro prepared," he said. "It asks for an interim order to protect the child and his mother from harassment until Mr. Cole returns. We filed a notice this morning. The judge will consider it by evening." Zara's hands trembled as she took the envelope. The paper felt heavy and safe. She bowed her head for a second in silent thanks. "Also," the man added, "Mr. Cole left this." He handed her a second envelope, thicker. "Cash." He was afraid something might happen while he traveled. Zara swallowed. She had not asked for secrets or envelopes or court orders. She had asked for a job, and then life had turned like a river after the rain, cutting a new path none of them could foresee. "Thank you," she said. As the Prado pulled away, a second car, sleek, silver, turned into the estate driveway. The driver barely waited for the gate to open before sliding through. Angela moved fast, heels clipping the tiles, face set. She had seen the handover. Her fury was a storm cloud crossing the sun. Zara tucked the envelopes deep into the wrap at her waist. "We'll be okay," she murmured to Zion. "We'll be okay." Her phone buzzed in her pocket. A known number. She almost didn't pick up, but something told her to. "Hello." Static. Then a voice she knew as well as her own heartbeat. "Zara, it's me. Don't move. I'm 5 minutes away." She went cold. "Mr. Cole? I thought." The flight turned back, he said, breathless, as if he were running. There was a technical issue. I'm in an Uber outside the estate. I know everything. She closed her eyes. Relief washed through her, clean and bright. But before she could speak, a deep shadow fell across the sidewalk. She opened her eyes to see a tall man in a charcoal suit step out of the silver car that had just slipped back through the gate. He was not one of the household guards. His eyes scanned her, the baby, the street, and finally her waist, where the corner of an envelope peeked out. "Miss Zara," he said, voice smooth. He flashed a badge she didn't recognize. "I'm here to take the child to a safe location as requested by Mrs. Cole." Zara took one step back. "No," she said, quieter than the traffic but stronger than she felt. "You are not touching my son." The man smiled without warmth. "If you resist, I'll call family welfare. They'll come with a van. The process can be messy. Or you can cooperate, and the child will be comfortable." He glanced at his watch. "Your choice, but make it quickly." On the phone, DeAndre's voice sharpened. "Zara? What is happening? Tell me where you are." Zara looked from the man's badge to the estate gate to the street stretching wide and bright in both directions. Sweat stung her eyes. Zion whimpered and then, as if sensing the crackle in the air, began to cry in earnest. She shifted him to her shoulder, heart pounding. Somewhere behind the gate, Angela was watching. Somewhere on the road, DeAndre was closing in. And right in front of her, the man in the suit took one slow step closer, hand outstretched toward the baby. Zara squared her shoulders and tightened her grip. The Lagos sun burned hot and unkind, and the moment stretched like a drum skin ready to split. "Miss," the man said softly, "give me the child." Zara opened her mouth to answer, and a black SUV with tinted windows screeched to a stop at the curb, doors flying open. Camera flashed. A woman's voice shouted, "Is that the Cole baby?" Traffic slowed. Heads turned. Phones rose like a field of little mirrors. Zara froze, the world tilting. DeAndre's voice on the phone cut through the noise. "Don't let anyone take him. I'm here." The suit's hand hovered inches from Zion's tiny back. Everything collided at once. The first thing Zara felt was the crowd's heat pressing in. Then the pop-pop-pop of camera shutters. The man in the charcoal suit angled his body to block the view, but he didn't step back. "Last chance," he murmured. "Hand him over." Then a hand gripped Zara's elbow. Not the suit's hand. A familiar one, steady and warm. DeAndre. He had sprinted the last 50 meters, tie loose, shirt damp with sweat, eyes locked on his son. He slid between Zara and the suit, planting himself like a wall. "The child is under my protection," he said calmly, but the power in his voice made the suit flinch. "Who sent you?" "Mrs. Cole retained our firm," the man replied, flashing the badge again. "Your badge is private security, not welfare," DeAndre said. "If you touch them, you'll wish you'd stayed in traffic." Phones rose higher. A reporter pushed forward. "Mr. Cole, are you confirming this baby is yours?" DeAndre ignored the question. "Zara, get in the car." He pointed to the Uber he'd just leapt from, engine idling. "Chitty," he shouted. The gate guard peered out, eyes wide. "Open the gate for me only. No one else leaves this compound without my authorization." Chitty bobbed his head and vanished. The suit shifted, calculating, then stepped aside. This was not the moment to test a billionaire on his own street with half of Lagos watching. Zara moved, legs shaky. DeAndre opened the back door and guided her in, then slid in beside her, shutting the door firmly. "Airport turned back on a technical," he whispered, breath still ragged. "I checked my phone, saw your missed calls and Beezy's messages. I knew Angela must have seen the will." The Uber pulled forward, but instead of driving into the road, the driver inched toward the estate gate as directed. The paparazzi swarm thinned at the security line. Inside the car, the noise faded enough for Zion's cries to soften into hiccups. DeAndre reached over, palm open. "May I?" Zara hesitated, then placed Zion in his arms. The baby's face relaxed as if memory recognized the chest he'd once slept on. DeAndre's expression cracked. relief, awe, fear, all at once. He kissed his son's forehead, then handed him back quickly, like he feared he might break if he held on longer. The gate slid open just enough for the Uber to slip through. As it closed again, Angela appeared on the driveway, poised and immaculate, the will folder cradled against her. DeAndre signaled the driver to stop. He rolled down the window. "Angela," he said. She stared at Zion. "So it's true." "It's true," he replied evenly. "And you will not put your hands on him or on her. Not today, not ever." Angela's gaze flicked to Zara, then returned to her husband. "For 32 years, you made me a promise," she said softly. "You promised our home was ours. I waited, I prayed, I bled for that promise. And then you wrote me out like a typist's mistake." "You are not written out of anything," DeAndre said. "You are my wife, my partner, but the company will need an heir. I made a decision to protect the child." "The child?" she repeated, the word landing like a stone. "The child you chose with the maid." Zara's jaw tightened, but she kept her eyes on Zion. She would not spar with a woman whose pain had its own gravity. "I will not do this in the driveway," DeAndre said. "I am taking them to the study. If you want to talk, we talk like people, not headlines." Angela's eyes flashed to the gatehouse where Chitty stood rigid, to the security cameras, to the black dots of phones still peeking through the bars outside. She nodded once, tightly. "Fine." They drove to the main steps. DeAndre ushered Zara inside with his hand at the small of her back, a protective gesture that made Angela's mouth press thin. In the cool hush of the foyer, Auntie Beezy exhaled a prayer so quiet it was almost breath. "Thank God," she whispered. "Beezy," DeAndre said gently, "please bring bottled water and a shawl for the baby." "Yes, sir." In the study, DeAndre closed the door and faced Angela. "First, you should know, what you saw in the safe is a draft. The final has not been executed. But the shares and trusts for Zion will be set aside. He is my son. Your son by a girl we employed to scrub floors." Zara lifted her chin. "I was hired to assist in the nursery, to help you host the Foundation's homeschool program, to cook simple meals when Madam traveled. I scrubbed when things spilled because homes get messy, even rich ones." Angela's laugh was small and hard. "So you were a saint until he looked at you." "I was a human until he saw me," Zara said quietly. "Enough," DeAndre said. He massaged his temple. "We are not going to shred each other in front of an infant." Angela walked to the window and stared at the lagoon, glittering blue beyond the trees. When she spoke again, the anger had drained, leaving something older. "Do you remember Accra?" she asked without turning. "That hotel room where the doctor called about the last round?" He said, "I'm sorry, Mrs. Cole." And I told him, "It's okay. I know how to be empty. You held me. You promised me we would be enough. You promised me legacy didn't matter more than us." DeAndre's shoulders dropped. "I remember. And then, one afternoon, I walk into your study and meet your legacy. All of it, swaddled in a blanket with a name. Not ours. Not mine." She finally turned. "You did not just choose a child. You chose a family I am not in." Zara looked down, throat tight. Angela's grief filled the room like water. "Even if you didn't drown, you swallowed some." "I did not plan this," DeAndre said. "After the foundation fundraiser last year, I came home late. I heard Zara singing in the kitchen. The staff had left. She was reheating food for the volunteers who stayed back to clean the hall. I sat and ate jollof with paper plates and plastic forks at my own marble island. And for 2 hours it felt like I had climbed out of my life and into a simpler one. We talked. She told me about Port Harcourt, about her mother's shop. "Her mother," Angela said. "Does her mother know she sleeps with married men for school fees?" Color climbed into Zara's face. "I never slept with anyone for money," she said, voice steady. "I was raised to fear God and to work hard. I made a mistake, a big one, but it wasn't for money. It was because a kind man listened to me when the world was loud, and I forgot he belonged to somebody else." Silence held. Zion fussed. Beezy slipped in with water and a light shawl, set them down and slipped out, her eyes wet. DeAndre spoke first. When Zara told me she was pregnant, I tried to fix it with numbers. I offered support, a private apartment, a trust for the baby. She said no to the apartment, yes to prenatal care, and told me to tell you the truth. I failed at that. I delayed, then delayed again, because I am a coward in some ways you never thought I could be. Angela's mouth trembled before she pinned it still. Cowardice is a luxury of men who know the world will catch them. DeAndre nodded once. Then let me be brave now. We will arrange boundaries that protect you from humiliation, and we will protect this child from harm. Angela, whatever else is true, Zion will inherit. The board expects continuity. I've made promises to investors and to my father's name. And you love him, Angela finished for him, eyes on the small bundle in Zara's arms. Yes, he said simply. Angela's gaze slid to Zara again. If you stay in Lagos, the city will eat you alive. Every market woman will have a story about you. Every Sunday pew will lean away from you. Are you ready for that? Zara swallowed. I didn't ask for fame. I asked for a job. I will go where my child is safe. A knock. DeAndre opened the door to reveal a short, round man with quick eyes. Attorney Kalu Okoro. He took in the tableau in one sweep and set his briefcase on the table. I filed the emergency application, he said briskly. A judge signed a temporary restraining order at 2:40 p.m. Mrs. Cole. Until we meet in court. You cannot remove the child or his mother from any residence they occupy or interfere with their care. Angela's cheeks reddened. You ran to court behind my back? I obeyed my client's instruction, Okoro said, unruffled. And I would advise you, as your former counsel, to avoid any act that looks like intimidation in front of the press. Angela inhaled, sharp and shallow. Former counsel? Conflict of interest, Okoro replied. I represent Mr. Cole and the child. I cannot represent you at this time. The phone chimed. Not a ring, an alert. DeAndre checked his screen. The breath left his body. Angela saw his face change and felt a cold ripple of dread. What is it? She asked. He turned the screen for them to see. A news site had pushed a breaking banner. Cole heir revealed? Exclusive photos outside VI estate. Beneath it, a photo of Zara clutching Zion at the gate. Another of DeAndre's hand on Zara's back. The headline crawled with insinuation. Angela pressed her palm to the desk as if steadying herself against a wave. It's out. Damage control, Okoro said at once. We'll demand takedowns. But the internet is a hydra. We need a statement. No statement, DeAndre said. Not yet. We get them safe. Then we speak. Zara breathed out, slow. Where do we go? The guest house at my mother's compound in Lekki, DeAndre said. She will keep you like gold. Tomorrow we meet the board. Tonight you rest. Angela lifted her chin. Your mother will side with you. She always has. She'll side with a baby, DeAndre said. She always has. Angela looked back at Zion. Something softened and then hardened again, like wax under a brief flame. Take them out the service entrance, she said. The front is a circus. I will call the staff and say the child is unwell and must sleep. DeAndre studied her. Thank you. Don't thank me, she said. I'm only moving the storm from the front door to the back. They moved quickly after that. Beezy packing a small bag of diapers and bottles. Okoro calling a driver he trusted. Chitty clearing the service lane. DeAndre opened the back corridor and guided Zara through. As they passed the framed photos on the wall, awards, ribbon cuttings, parties, Zara saw Angela pause before a picture of the two of them from a foundation gala. Angela in emerald silk, Zara in a borrowed black dress carrying a stack of donor envelopes, both laughing at some forgotten joke. For a second, the memory flickered like a power surge, bright and gone. At the service door, the driver waited with a modest sedan. Okoro checked the lane, then nodded. Go. DeAndre touched Zara's elbow. I'll follow in another car. Zara paused, then turned to Angela. Madam, she said, voice very low. I know I hurt you. I will live with that. But if anyone asks, please tell them I am not a thief. I did not steal a man or a fortune. I am only a mother trying to keep my child warm. Angela's eyes glistened, then sharpened. Warm is not the same as safe, she said. Watch everyone, even those who smile. Zara nodded, got into the car, and cradled Zion close as the sedan rolled into the alley. Inside, Okoro's phone buzzed again. He frowned. That's odd. What now? DeAndre asked, bone-tired. Okoro's thumb skimmed the screen. A second will, he said slowly. Filed digitally this morning by your personal assistant. It names a different executor, and it removes your controlling sign-off. DeAndre stared. That's impossible. Unless someone used your credentials, Okoro said, already dialing. Or unless someone in this house drafted a document to make war look like paperwork. Angela's face went still. What did you say? The will in your safe may not be the only one in play, Okoro answered, eyes narrowing. And the one just filed, if it's accepted, gives temporary control of Cole Holdings to a trustee until paternity is independently verified. DeAndre's pulse thudded in his ears. Who would? A voice answered from the doorway before Okoro's call connected. I would, said a calm tenor. They turned. Mr. Miller, the branch manager in charge of key approvals, stood there with his hands folded, expression smooth. I warned you, he said to DeAndre. A storm is easy to start and hard to stop. And this one began the day you put a maid at the center of a dynasty. For a long moment, no one spoke. The silence in the study was thick, alive, pulsing like a drumbeat. DeAndre's jaw tightened. Miller, he said slowly, his voice low and controlled. What are you doing in my house without being called? Mr. Miller smiled faintly. I came when Mrs. Cole called. She thought it best that someone with sense handle the corporate side of your personal situation. Angela's head snapped toward him. I called you for advice, not betrayal. He raised a brow. Advice and action often walk together, ma'am. You were distraught, so I acted. Cole Holdings is a public trust. Scandals like this destroy investor confidence overnight. Someone had to protect the company before your husband's emotions did permanent damage. DeAndre took a step forward. You overstepped your authority. Did I? Miller said smoothly. You left your digital key in your office, and your executive assistant confirmed authorization. I merely submitted what you and I discussed months ago. A structure that temporarily protects the board in the event of any inheritance complication. Angela's face went pale. Inheritance complication? She echoed. You mean the child? Exactly, Miller said, eyes on DeAndre. With this story everywhere, do you think the shareholders will trust a newborn of uncertain paternity to control a billion-dollar group? They'll revolt. My document prevents that. Okoro snapped his briefcase open and began typing furiously on his tablet. You cannot legally alter an estate plan without the client's wet signature or recorded consent. I'll file an injunction before dinner. Miller's smirk didn't waver. You'll need to prove which version of DeAndre Cole is authentic, because the system already logged his signature. Digitally, DeAndre's heartbeat pounded in his ears. He looked at Angela. You gave him access. Her lips parted. I didn't. Think carefully, he cut in. You wanted to protect what's yours. So you called a man who always wanted more than his salary. Angela's eyes burned. Don't you dare blame me for your chaos. I'm not blaming, DeAndre said, voice rising. I'm telling you that while you were planning revenge, someone else was planning theft. Okoro's device chimed. He glanced at it, then looked up grimly. He's right. Miller, what you filed has already been mirrored to the Corporate Affairs Commission portal. It's live. You've triggered an automatic audit. Angela swayed, catching the desk for balance. Audit? Meaning, Okoro said. Until the system decides whose submission is valid, all Cole Holdings accounts are frozen. Miller's smile spread, slow and dangerous. Precisely. That buys everyone time. Especially those of us who prefer a calm resolution. DeAndre's fists clenched. You've paralyzed an entire empire because you think you're clever. I've stabilized it, Miller said simply. And unless you want to see your company's shares collapse tomorrow, I suggest you start cooperating. Get out of my house, DeAndre said, his tone flat as steel. Miller hesitated. You might regret that, sir. When the truth comes out. Coro stepped between them. Out, he ordered, surprisingly firm. Before this becomes criminal trespass. Miller looked at Angela one last time. Call me when you come to your senses, he said softly. Because when this man loses everything, you'll need an ally who still answers your calls. Angela's breath trembled. Leave, Miller. He inclined his head and walked out, unhurried, like a man certain the fire would burn after him. The door closed. The silence he left behind hummed with danger. DeAndre rubbed his temples. He's been planning this for months, he muttered. Using my digital keys, my absence, my mistakes. Coro nodded. We'll fight it, but it's going to be a storm. Public opinion, shareholder panic, legal warfare. Angela turned away from them both, staring at her reflection in the glass wall. For the first time, her voice sounded small. He's right about one thing, she said. The world already believes what it wants. Every phone in Lagos is showing that baby's face. Zara's name had started trending on social media before she even reached Lekki. DeAndre's phone pinged nonstop. Emails from journalists, threats from investors, silent calls from unknown numbers. And somewhere out there, Miller was feeding the flames. Meanwhile, in the modest guest house in Lekki, Zara sat on a small bed, rocking Zion gently. The baby slept soundly, oblivious to the chaos swirling around him. The compound smelled of hibiscus and fried plantain from the kitchen. DeAndre's mother, Mama Cole, sat beside her, folding the baby's clothes. You're safe here, Mama Cole said softly. But safety is not quiet. People will talk. Let them. They talked when I married DeAndre's father too. Said I was too poor for him, that love didn't belong across class lines. Yet here we are. Zara looked up, surprised. You understand? Mama Cole smiled faintly. More than you think, child. But understand this too. A rich man's love is not a blanket. It warms and it burns. Zara sighed. I didn't want his love. I only wanted peace. I didn't even know how deep I was until I was too far gone. Mama Cole reached over, touching her hand. Now you have a child. That's deeper than any ocean. Protect him. Don't let anyone use him as a weapon. Not his father, not his father's enemies, not even yourself. Zara nodded. Yes, Ma. Mama Cole stood. Rest now. The night will be long. When the older woman left, Zara looked down at Zion's tiny fingers wrapped around hers. Your father will fix this, she whispered. He will come. But deep inside, she wasn't sure. Back at the estate, DeAndre and Okoro sat in the dimly lit study, screens glowing as they traced files and emails. We'll need to find who accessed the system, Okoro said. Miller couldn't do it alone. DeAndre scrolled through the login logs. His heart dropped. He had help, he murmured. From someone inside my family. He turned the laptop so Okoro could see the name stamped in bold beside the last approval. A. Cole at Cole Holdings, NG. Angela. DeAndre exhaled slowly, pain carving deep into his features. She didn't just call him. She authorized it. Coro frowned. Could be forgery. We'll verify. But DeAndre already knew. Angela's pride ran hotter than reason. He'd seen it 100 times, her need to control what she feared losing. She's sinking us both, he whispered. Not if we act first, Okoro said, pulling out his phone. I'll alert a cyberforensics team. We can nullify the signature before dawn. Before they could move, the estate lights flickered and died. Total darkness swallowed the room. Generator, DeAndre said. Okoro reached for his phone flashlight, but before he could switch it on, a muffled thud echoed from the hallway. Then another, closer, heavier. DeAndre tensed, motioning for silence. They listened. Footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. Then the doorknob turned. Stay back, DeAndre hissed, grabbing the small decorative blade from the shelf. A ceremonial dagger from Ghana, sharp enough for defense. The door creaked open. A beam of light slashed across the floor from a phone flashlight, and revealed Angela standing there, her face ghostly pale, her eyes swollen red. "I didn't mean for it to go this far," she said, voice trembling. DeAndre lowered the dagger slightly but didn't move closer. "You authorized it." "I didn't know he'd file it," she said. "He said it was just a draft, to scare you. I wanted to hurt you, not ruin you. You've done both." Angela took a shaky breath. "They'll destroy us in the media, DeAndre. Everything we built. But maybe we can stop it another way." "What way?" She held up a small, rectangular device, a flash drive. "Miller kept digital backups of every transaction. If we can get into his office tonight, we can delete the proof before he leaks it to the press." DeAndre frowned. "That's too risky." "I can get you inside," she said. "He trusts me." "Angela, no," Okoro said. "Breaking and entering would destroy any legal defense we have." But Angela's voice had changed. It was steadier now. "You don't understand. He doesn't just want the company. He wants to expose Zara's identity and prove the child is fake. He has fake DNA papers ready to circulate." DeAndre froze. "Fake papers?" "Yes," Angela said. "He told me this morning. He wants to show that the baby isn't yours, so he can take over under a clause that requires legitimate lineage." Okoro muttered a curse. "If he releases that story, the court will delay paternity verification," DeAndre said grimly, "which gives him total control." Angela nodded. "We have one night to stop him." The lights blinked back on. For a moment, everything looked normal again, but nothing was normal anymore. DeAndre looked at Angela, then at Okoro. "All right," he said finally. "We go. Tonight." Angela exhaled, relief and fear mingling in her eyes. Okoro rose. "If you're going, I'll come too. But we need proof, not fire. We get the files, we make copies, and we end this legally." Angela turned toward the door, voice low. "No one must know where we're going. Especially not Zara." DeAndre nodded. "She's been through enough." He took one last look at the framed family photo on his desk, the one where Angela smiled with the ease of 20 years ago, and then at the faint smudge on his shirt from where Zara had leaned against him earlier, the scent of milk still faint on his skin. Two women, two choices, one storm. He turned off the desk lamp. "Let's finish this." They walked into the Lagos night, unaware that a small drone hovered silently above the estate gates, its red light blinking. A perfect witness streaming everything live to a phone on Miller's desk downtown. Miller watched, smiling, as the footage played. "Good," he murmured. "Let them dig their own graves." He clicked, "Record." Let us know in the comments below. And if you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share with someone who loves suspenseful African folktales like this one. The night air was heavy, thick with Lagos humidity and tension. The city pulsed outside like a living thing, horns wailing, vendors calling, the far hum of music from a nearby lounge. Inside the black SUV, DeAndre sat in the passenger seat, his jaw tight as Angela drove through the dimly lit streets toward Ikoyi, where Miller's private office towered over the lagoon. Okoro, in the back seat, spoke quietly into his phone. "Yes, Inspector. We're just confirming the tip. No, don't alert anyone yet. We'll send proof within the hour." He ended the call and looked at DeAndre. "If we can catch Miller with those files, I'll have grounds for immediate injunction. But if this goes wrong," DeAndre finished the sentence for him, "we all lose everything." Angela's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. "I already lost everything," she murmured. "My name, my peace, my husband's honesty." DeAndre looked at her. "You didn't lose me, Angela. You walked away long before Zara ever came." Angela flinched. "Don't flatter her by blaming me." "I'm not blaming her," he said. "I'm blaming the silence that grew between us, the one we both fed." For a while, no one spoke. The car's headlights cut through the darkness like blades. When they turned into Miller's compound, The guard waved them in without hesitation. Angela's influence still opened doors. The building was sleek and silent. They parked beside the generator house. Angela handed DeAndre the flash drive. The files you need will be on his system labeled Trust_Cole Holdings 2025. He backs everything up there. Coro pulled on gloves. You sure this is safe? Angela's lips twitched. Nothing is safe anymore. They slipped into the side entrance. Inside, Miller's office glowed faintly with standby light from monitors. Coro moved first, plugging in a portable drive. The room smelled of cologne and paper. Clean, professional, dangerous. DeAndre's heart pounded. He navigated the folders, and there it was, Trust_Cole Holdings 2025. He clicked it open. Inside, dozens of files, financial documents, scanned signatures, and one folder labeled DNA_proof. He froze. This must be it. Angela leaned closer, eyes narrowing. Open it. He did. Inside were PDFs, lab reports stamped with Lagos GenLab Diagnostics. The names were clear: Zara Nwachukwu, infant male, Zion Cole, and DeAndre Cole. The result column read in bold red letters. Not a match. Angela gasped. He actually did it. DeAndre stared at the report. This is fake, he said, voice hard. I never submitted a sample to that lab. Coro leaned over. He must have forged both results. Look at the metadata, same timestamp for both DNA samples. Impossible for two different donors. DeAndre exhaled, furious. He plans to use this to strip my son of his inheritance. Angela's hand shook slightly as she pointed. Download everything. We'll use his own files against him. Coro's drive light blinked rapidly as it transferred the data. But then another sound. The elevator. Soft, mechanical, coming down from the top floor. Angela's eyes widened. He's here. DeAndre unplugged the drive and pocketed it. We hide. Now. They slipped behind the large mahogany shelves, hearts hammering. The elevator dinged, doors sliding open. Miller stepped out, phone pressed to his ear, voice smooth as ever. Yes, I told them. Cole's entire fortune will be under audit by morning. His son? A ghost. He laughed softly. Yes, Mrs. Cole helped me. But she doesn't know she helped me this much. Angela's lips parted in shock. She had known betrayal, but not this deep. Her eyes shimmered with something between anger and disbelief. Miller continued pacing, voice low and cold. Tomorrow, the board will appoint me interim CEO until the case is resolved. By the time Cole proves paternity, the shares will be mine. Then I'll release the real story. The real story? His associate asked on the phone. Miller smiled faintly. That the maid's child wasn't just his son. It was a setup by both of them to steal from the Cole family. The perfect scandal. Angela's face went white. DeAndre clenched his fists, rage boiling in his chest. He wanted to lunge out and smash Miller's smug mouth. But Coro caught his arm, shaking his head sharply. Not yet. Miller ended the call and poured himself a drink. To legacy, he muttered, clinking the glass against his desk. Then Angela stepped out from the shadows. Legacy built on lies never lasts, she said quietly. Miller spun, startled. Angela, don't you Angela me, she hissed. You used me. You promised to protect the company. But all this time, you were plotting to destroy my family. Miller recovered quickly, smirking. Your family? The man who replaced you with a housemaid? Come on, Angela. You deserve better than loyalty. DeAndre emerged from behind the shelves, his presence filling the room. And you deserve prison. Miller's smirk faltered. You shouldn't be here. Coro raised his phone, camera flashing. But we are. And we have every file you forged. Miller's eyes darted to the desk. No, you don't. DeAndre tossed the portable drive onto the table. We took what we needed. Miller lunged toward his computer, but Angela reached first, yanking the power cord from the wall. No more lies. He turned to her, face twisted. You'll regret this, Angela. You'll lose everything. I already have. she said, her voice trembling but firm. Now I'm done losing. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then Miller's hand darted into his jacket. A flash of metal glinted, a small pistol. Angela froze. DeAndre stepped forward instinctively. "Don't!" Coro shouted. Miller waved the gun between them, his voice shaking now. "You think you can humiliate me? I built this empire's bones while you were all counting profits." DeAndre's eyes were on him, calm but burning. "You built nothing but deceit. Put the gun down." Miller's finger tightened on the trigger. Then the office door burst open. "Lagos police! Drop your weapon!" A beam of light filled the room, blinding for a second. 3 officers rushed in, weapons drawn. Miller froze, then slowly lowered his gun. The lead officer, a tall man with a scar on his cheek, strode forward. "Mr. Cole, we received a tip about an attempted data breach. You called us?" Coro nodded. "Yes, you came just in time." The officer's gaze shifted to Miller. "Mr. Miller, you're under arrest for cyber fraud, extortion, and attempted forgery of legal documents." Miller laughed bitterly. "You can't prove a thing." Okoro held up his phone, displaying the video feed from the hidden office camera. "We already did." 2 officers cuffed Miller. As they led him out, he turned his head toward DeAndre and sneered. "You think this ends with me? You've made enemies who wear better suits than mine." DeAndre didn't answer. He just watched him go. When the door shut, the tension snapped like a string. Angela slumped into a chair, shaking. DeAndre reached out, steadying her shoulders. "You saved us tonight," he said softly. Angela gave a humorless laugh. "Saved you? I almost helped him destroy you. But you turned back," he said. "That's what matters." Coro exhaled heavily. "We'll file the reports tonight. Tomorrow we go public with the truth. The DNA fraud, the takeover, all of it." Angela rubbed her temples. "What about Zara? She must be terrified." "She doesn't know any of this," DeAndre said. "And she won't until it's over." He picked up the portable drive and slipped it into his pocket. "We're going home." Back in Lekki, the night was quiet except for the soft rustle of palm leaves outside. Zara lay awake on the bed, unable to sleep. Zion stirred beside her. Then, faintly, she heard it. An engine outside the compound. Car stopping. Footsteps approaching. Her chest tightened. "Who's there?" she whispered. A shadow moved past the curtain. Then a soft knock. "Zara." She froze. That voice. Angela. Zara's pulse raced. She went to the door slowly, every nerve on edge. When she opened it, Angela stood there in a simple black dress, her face bare of makeup, her eyes unreadable. "Madam," Zara began cautiously. Angela raised a hand. "Don't call me that tonight." She stepped inside, closing the door behind her. "I came to see him." Zara hesitated, then nodded. She turned toward the crib where Zion slept, his tiny chest rising and falling. Angela approached slowly, as if afraid to wake him. For a long time she just stood there, watching. Her lips trembled. "He looks so much like DeAndre," she whispered. Zara said nothing. Angela turned, meeting her eyes. "I almost destroyed you today," she said. "But I came to tell you something before anyone else does." "What?" Zara asked softly. Angela swallowed hard. "There's another will." Zara frowned. "What do you mean?" Angela's voice cracked. "One that doesn't just give Zion everything. One that gives you control too. If DeAndre dies before the boy turns 18, you inherit his full authority." Zara's heart stopped. "That's not possible, he never told me." "He didn't want to frighten you," Angela said. "But now every greedy man in Lagos knows. You're sitting on the biggest target in this city, Zara." Zara's hands shook. "What do I do?" Angela stepped closer. "Run." Zara blinked. "Run." "Yes," Angela whispered. "Take the child and disappear before they find you. Before they find out where you are." Zara's throat went dry. "Who is they?" Angela looked toward the window, eyes dark with fear. "The people Miller worked for." She turned back, her face deadly serious. They won't stop now. They'll come for the child. The baby stirred in his sleep, unaware of the storm gathering around him. Angela's voice dropped to a whisper. Leave tonight, Zara. Don't tell DeAndre. Don't tell anyone. Zara stared at her, torn between disbelief and dread. You're asking me to run away from his father? I'm asking you to save your son, Angela said, tears finally spilling down her face. Outside, thunder rumbled over the lagoon, deep and distant. The first drops of rain tapped the roof like warning drums. Zara looked down at her sleeping baby, then back at Angela, and for the first time, she saw not a billionaire's wife, but a mother who knew what it meant to lose everything. The rain came down in thick, slanting sheets that hissed against the zinc roof of the guest house. Lightning flashed across the lagoon, throwing shadows through the window. Zara stood motionless, her heartbeat sinking with the thunder outside. Angela's words still echoed in her head. Run before they come for the child. She looked down at Zion, who slept soundly, his tiny fists clenched like he was ready to fight the world. Run, she whispered to herself. Where can I go with a newborn? Where would be safe? Angela stepped closer, voice low but urgent. There's a woman I trust, Sister Chica. She runs a small mission home in Abeokuta. No one will look for you there. I'll send money quietly every month. Zara turned sharply. Why are you doing this? You hated me just this morning. Angela's expression softened. I hated what you represented, my failure, my emptiness. But when I saw what Miller planned, I realized the real danger wasn't you. It's the greed that surrounds my husband's name. You're in it now, whether you like it or not. Zara's throat tightened. And DeAndre? You want me to disappear without telling him? Angela nodded, her voice cracking. If he knows, they'll trace you through him. The only way to keep Zion safe is to vanish completely. Zara shook her head. He'll think I betrayed him. Angela's eyes glistened. Better he thinks you betrayed him than for both of you to end up in the news tomorrow as another tragedy headline. A loud crash of thunder shook the windows. For a moment the lights flickered. Zara sat slowly on the bed, pressing her palm to her forehead. I have no money, no passport, no plan. Angela reached into her handbag and pulled out an envelope, pressing it into Zara's hands. This is more than enough to get you to Abeokuta and keep you for a while. I withdrew it before coming here. Don't ask how. Zara hesitated, staring at the envelope. She could feel the thickness of the Naira notes through the paper. I don't know if I can do this, she said softly. I can't run forever. Angela knelt in front of her, holding her gaze. You're not running forever. You're running until the storm passes, until the world forgets. Then you can start again. Zara looked into Angela's eyes that, for the first time, carried no pride, no bitterness, just fear and a mother's regret. She nodded slowly. I'll go, she whispered. Angela exhaled, relief and sadness mingling. Good. You'll leave at dawn. I'll send a driver I trust. Then Angela stood, brushed invisible dust from her dress, and turned toward the door. But before she could leave, Zara called after her. Madam. Angela paused. Thank you. Angela didn't look back. Don't thank me yet, she said quietly. Just survive. The door clicked shut behind her. By morning, the storm had passed. The air was clean, washed, almost new. Zara dressed in simple clothes, a loose wrapper, a faded blouse, and a headscarf. She wrapped Zion close to her chest, his tiny breath warm against her skin. Outside, a dark Toyota sedan waited. A middle-aged driver in a raincoat stood by the gate. Good morning, Ma, he greeted respectfully. Madam Angela sent me. Zara's stomach churned. Something about the man's calm made her uneasy, but she forced a smile. Good morning. He opened the back door. Please enter. It's a long road. As she slid in, the driver's phone buzzed. He stepped aside to answer. Yes, Ma. I've picked her up. He paused. Yes, the baby too. No problem. Zara frowned. Something in his tone made her uneasy. He wasn't talking like a mission driver. His voice carried the brisk coldness of a man on a task, not an errand. She looked out the window. The compound gate opened slowly, the outside world spreading before her. Her heart began to race. The car started moving. For 20 minutes they drove in silence. Lagos blurred by, the markets, the traffic, the small churches with tin roofs. Zara hummed softly to keep Zion calm. But every few minutes, she caught the driver glancing at her in the mirror, eyes cold and unreadable. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Finally, she gathered courage. "Sir, are we going to Abeokuta?" He didn't answer immediately. Then he smiled thinly. "That's one way of putting it." Her pulse quickened. "What do you mean?" He didn't reply. Instead, he reached for his phone again and made another call. "Yes, we're approaching 3rd Mainland Bridge," he said. "The package is secure." The package. Zara's blood ran cold. She clutched Zion tighter. "Who are you calling?" The man ended the call and glanced at her in the mirror. "You'll find out soon enough." Her breath hitched. She looked outside. The road stretched ahead, water shimmering on both sides. If she screamed, no one would hear over the roar of engines. She swallowed hard, forcing calm. "Please, sir," she said softly. "My baby needs to eat. Can we stop somewhere?" "Just 5 minutes." The driver hesitated, then shook his head. "No time." Zara's eyes darted to the door handle. The car wasn't locked. Her mind raced. At the far end of the bridge, she saw traffic slowing, construction work. Dozens of vehicles were crawling to a halt. This was her only chance. She whispered a silent prayer, tightened her grip on Zion, and without thinking twice, yanked the door open. The driver shouted, "Hey, are you mad?" Zara jumped. Her feet hit the wet asphalt, slipping, pain shooting up her leg, but she didn't stop. She clutched Zion close and ran toward the shoulder where a group of roadside traders huddled under umbrellas. "Help me," she cried. "Please, someone help." The driver slammed on the brakes and leapt out, but 2 Okada riders intercepted him, shouting angrily, "Why are you chasing a woman with a baby?" Zara ducked between the stalls, panting, heart hammering. The driver cursed loudly and retreated to his car as the Okada riders crowded him. She kept running until the noise faded behind her. Finally, she found herself by a small wooden shed near the water, trembling from head to toe. Zion whimpered softly, his face pressed against her neck. She rocked him, tears spilling freely now. "Oh, my baby," she sobbed. "They're not taking you. Never." A kind-looking woman selling boiled corn approached her gently. "Auntie, what happened?" Zara hesitated, wiping her tears. "I need to get to Abeokuta," she said. "But someone's trying to stop me." The woman studied her face, then nodded slowly. "Follow me." She led Zara to a parked minibus behind the stalls. "My cousin is driving this to Abeokuta. Hide inside. He won't ask questions." Zara's lips quivered. "God bless you." The woman smiled faintly. "Just keep that baby safe, eh?" Zara climbed into the bus, settling at the back seat. As the engine started, she peeked out the window, no sign of the driver. Just the endless sprawl of Lagos fading behind her. Meanwhile, back at the Cole estate, DeAndre woke to an empty bed and a cold sense of dread. He called the guest house, no answer. Called Okoro, no news. Then he called Angela. She answered on the 3rd ring. "Yes." "Where's Zara?" he demanded. "The guard said your driver picked her up at dawn." Angela's voice went still. "My driver? I never sent any car." The world seemed to tilt. "What did you say?" "I said I didn't send anyone," she repeated, her voice now trembling. "I told her to wait for my call." DeAndre's blood ran cold. "Then who the hell took her?" There was silence. Then Angela whispered the name neither of them wanted to say. "Miller." DeAndre slammed his fist on the table, rage burning through him. "He's still operating from jail. Someone's helping him." Coro rushed in, phone in hand. "Sir, I just got word. Miller was released an hour ago on bail. Someone powerful posted it." DeAndre's chest tightened. "Find out who." and get every police checkpoint between Lagos and Ogun alert. Coro nodded and ran out. Angela stood frozen. "What have we done?" she whispered. DeAndre's eyes darkened. "We let the devil live long enough to reach for my child." He turned, grabbed his car keys, and strode toward the door. "Where are you going?" Angela called. "To find them," he said. "If Miller thinks he can take my son, he's about to learn who he's dealing with." As he stormed out into the rain-soaked driveway, Angela sank to her knees, whispering the same prayer Zara had whispered hours ago. Only this time, it was for all of them. "God, please, protect the innocent." And far down the highway, as the minibus crossed out of Lagos State, Zara looked at her sleeping child and whispered again, "We're going to be okay, Zion. We're going to be okay." But in the rearview mirror, the driver caught her eyes and smiled faintly. Behind them, a sleek black SUV followed at a steady distance through the rain. The minibus rumbled along the wet highway, its tired engine humming a nervous tune. Dawn crept slowly across the horizon, streaking the sky in pale orange. Zara held Zion tightly against her chest, rocking him softly. The baby was asleep, his tiny breaths warm against her neck. Every time the bus hit a bump, Zara's grip tightened, half in fear, half in prayer. The other passengers were quiet. A market woman with baskets of yams, a teenage boy listening to music, and an elderly man dozing with a Bible in his lap. No one paid much attention to her, and that was exactly how she wanted it. But when she glanced through the dusty back window, her stomach dropped. A black SUV was following them. Again. She looked away quickly, pretending not to notice. Maybe it was coincidence. Maybe it wasn't the same one she'd seen near the bridge. But deep inside, her instincts screamed, "They found me." She turned to the driver, a heavy-set man in a blue polo shirt. "Please, sir," she said softly, "can you take another road? I think someone is following us." The man frowned in the mirror. "Madam, calm down. This one Na Express road, no other shortcut. Please, I'll pay extra." He sighed. "You sure?" Zara nodded. The driver hesitated, then muttered something under his breath and turned sharply at the next intersection, veering off the highway onto a narrower, rougher road. The market woman hissed, "Ah, driver, where you dey go? I want reach Abafo before market open." "Small detour, mama," he called back. But the SUV turned too. Zara's heart stopped. The driver looked in the mirror, saw it, and cursed. "Ah, this one no be coincidence-o." The passengers began to murmur. "Who dey follow us? Madam, who you be?" Zara's voice trembled. "Please just drive. I'll explain later." The road grew bumpier, lined with thick bush and palm trees. The SUV gained speed, closing in. The teenage boy craned his neck. "Driver, dem day near. Hold tight," the driver shouted, swerving hard around a pothole. The minibus rattled violently. Zion began to cry. Zara pressed him close, whispering, "It's okay, my love. It's okay." The SUV accelerated and pulled up beside them. The tinted window rolled down just enough for a gloved hand to stick out, a gun glinting in the morning light. "Jesus!" the market woman screamed. The driver hit the brakes and veered left, the bus skidding sideways in a spray of muddy water. The SUV swerved too, tires screeching. "Everybody down!" the driver yelled. The next few seconds blurred. A gunshot cracked through the air, shattering the side window. Passengers screamed. Zara ducked, covering Zion's head with her body. "Driver, stop!" someone shouted. But the driver did the opposite. He floored the pedal. The bus roared forward, bouncing dangerously on the uneven road. The SUV chased. Zara's mind raced. If they catch us, it's over. Suddenly, she saw a narrow dirt path leading into the forest. A small road that looked barely wide enough for a vehicle. "There!" she shouted. "Turn there." The driver glanced, hesitated, then jerked the wheel. The bus lurched off the main road and plunged into the bush. Branches scraped the sides. Passengers screamed again. The SUV tried to follow but got stuck in the mud. Its tires spun wildly. The bus didn't stop until they reached a clearing surrounded by tall palm trees. The driver finally killed the engine, breathing hard. Everyone sat in stunned silence, hearts pounding. Zara trembled, clutching Zion. "Thank you," she whispered to the driver. He turned to her, sweat glistening on his forehead. "Madam, what's going on? Who are those people?" Zara opened her mouth, but before she could answer, the market woman snapped, "Ah, you want get us killed? Who you offend?" Tears filled Zara's eyes. "I don't know anymore," she said quietly. "I'm just trying to protect my child." The old man with the Bible finally spoke, his voice gentle. "Then we must get you to safety, my daughter. There's a church not far from here, St. Peter's Mission. The Reverend there helps travelers. You'll be safe there for now." Zara nodded gratefully. "Please, can you take me there?" The driver nodded. "I'll try." They started the bus again, moving slowly along the dirt road. But back on the main road, the men in the SUV had already called someone. "She's off the highway," one said into his phone. "Yes, heading toward the bush road by Abafo." On the other end of the line, in a luxury office back in Lagos, Miller smiled darkly. He was free now, wearing a fresh suit and sipping coffee. "Good," he said. "Don't touch her yet. Follow her quietly. We'll need the baby alive." He ended the call, leaned back, and chuckled. It's time the Cole family learns who really controls their legacy. At that same hour, DeAndre was in his office, pacing like a trapped lion. His shirt was unbuttoned at the collar, his eyes red from exhaustion. "Any news?" he barked into the phone. Okoro's voice came through. "We traced her last phone signal near 3rd Mainland Bridge, but it's gone cold. We've alerted checkpoints up to Ogun State." "Not good enough," DeAndre said. "She's carrying my son. Find her." Angela stood by the window, arms crossed tightly. "You think yelling will bring her back?" DeAndre turned sharply. "This started because of you." Angela flinched. "I tried to fix it. I told her to run before they killed her." He froze. "You what?" "I told her to hide," Angela said, voice trembling. "Because Miller's people were watching." DeAndre's face twisted in disbelief. "You told her to disappear with my child?" "I saved her life," Angela snapped. "You were too busy protecting your name to realize she was in danger." DeAndre slammed his fist on the desk. "Do you have any idea what you've done? She could be anywhere, terrified, alone. Because of you," Angela shot back. "Because you couldn't keep your sins inside your house." Their voices filled the room, sharp and broken. Then the phone rang again, cutting through the chaos. Okoro's urgent voice. "Sir, listen. We just got word from a traffic patrol near Abafo. They found bullet shells on the road and a broken bus window that matches Zara's description." DeAndre's heart dropped. "Was she?" "No bodies," Okoro said quickly. "But witnesses say a woman with a baby ran into the forest. They're sending officers to sweep the area now." "I'm going there myself," DeAndre said, grabbing his keys. Angela moved forward. "I'm coming with you." "No," he said coldly. "You've done enough." He stormed out. Angela stood there trembling, tears sliding down her face. By noon, the sun blazed high, baking the wet ground into steaming clay. Zara sat under the shade of a mango tree near the small mission church. Her clothes were dirty, her feet sore, but she didn't care. Zion slept peacefully in her arms. A soft-voiced woman in a blue habit brought her water. "Rest, my dear," she said. "The Reverend is away, but you can stay here as long as you need." "Thank you," Zara said weakly. "Thank you so much." The woman smiled kindly. "You look like someone who's been running from shadows." Zara gave a small, sad smile. "Yes, Ma, and they keep following." The nun's eyes softened. "Then maybe it's time you stop running and start fighting." Before Zara could respond, a motorcycle roared up outside the church gates. A local boy ran inside shouting, "Sister, police people day come. Plenty motor day follow." Zara's blood ran cold. The nun frowned. "Police." Zara stood, clutching Zion. "No, It's not the police. It's them. The engines grew louder, SUVs, at least 3, pulling up outside. Doors slammed. Voices barked orders. Zara's heart raced. Please, sister. Hide us. The nun grabbed her hand and pulled her behind the altar, opening a small wooden door that led to a narrow passage. Quickly, this way. Zara hurried inside, her breath shaking. The passage led to a back courtyard overgrown with tall grass and an old broken fence. She climbed through, clutching Zion tightly. Behind her, men's voices echoed inside the church. Search everywhere. The woman and the baby are here. Zara ducked low, crawling through the grass. Sweat dripped down her face, her arms trembling. She could hear footsteps getting closer. Just as she reached the back gate, she heard someone shout, "Over there!" She turned and froze. One of the men stood 10 feet away, pointing a gun straight at her. "End of the road, madam," he said. "Boss wants the baby alive, not you." Zara gasped, clutching Zion tighter. Then, from behind, a familiar voice roared, "Touch them and I'll bury you myself." Zara turned and saw DeAndre, mud-splattered, breathless, eyes blazing, charging through the courtyard gate, 2 police officers behind him. Gunfire erupted, the air filled with chaos, shouting, and smoke. Zara dropped to the ground, shielding her baby, while DeAndre dove forward, tackling the gunman. They rolled in the dirt, fists flying. Another officer fired, hitting one of the attackers in the leg. The rest fled toward their vehicles. Sirens wailed in the distance. When the gunfire stopped, DeAndre stumbled to his feet, bleeding from a cut on his forehead. He looked around frantically. Zara! She lifted her head from behind the wall, eyes wide and wet. He ran to her, dropping to his knees beside her. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head, tears streaming down. "No. But you?" "I'm fine," he said, pulling her into his arms. Zion whimpered softly between them. DeAndre held them both tightly, trembling. "I thought I lost you." Zara clung to him, sobbing. "They wanted the baby. They said Miller sent them." DeAndre's jaw tightened. "He's finished. I swear it." As police sirens grew louder, Zara looked up at him, voice breaking. "What happens now?" DeAndre looked down at his son. Tiny, innocent, sleeping through the chaos. "Now," he said, "we fight back together." But neither of them noticed the black drone hovering high above the churchyard, silently recording every second. And miles away, in his hidden office, Miller watched the live feed with a cold smile. "This isn't over," he whispered. "It's only beginning." The rain returned that night, slow and steady, as if the heavens wept in exhaustion after the chaos. Inside the dim guest house at the edge of Abafo, Zara sat on the bed with Zion asleep on her chest. The room smelled of disinfectant and rain-soaked earth. DeAndre sat nearby, his head wrapped in a bandage where the gun had grazed him. For a long time, neither spoke. The silence was heavy, too full of things unsaid. Finally, Zara broke it. "You shouldn't have come. They could have killed you." DeAndre looked up from his hands, eyes weary but steady. "I couldn't let them take my son. Or you." Her voice trembled. "You almost died because of me." He leaned forward. "Zara, listen to me. None of this is your fault. It's mine. I made choices that dragged you into my storm." Zara's eyes filled with tears. "But why didn't you tell me about the will? Why make me and my baby targets?" DeAndre exhaled. "Because I wanted to protect you. If people knew, they'd use you to destroy everything. I thought keeping it secret would make you safe. I was wrong." Zara's lips quivered. "Now everyone knows, and they'll keep coming." "I'll stop them," DeAndre said quietly. "I don't care what it costs." Before Zara could answer, there was a knock at the door. DeAndre stood instantly alert. He reached for the pistol the police had lent him and called, "Who is it?" A familiar voice answered, "It's me, Angela." Zara's heartbeat quickened. She looked at DeAndre uncertainly. He hesitated, then opened the door. Angela stepped in, soaked from the rain, her eyes hollow with guilt. "I heard what happened," she said softly. Are you both all right? Zara looked down at Zion. We're alive. Angela nodded slowly. Good. That's more than I deserve. DeAndre's tone hardened. Why are you here? To end this, she said. Miller isn't done. He's moving faster than you think. Zara frowned. How do you know? Angela hesitated, then pulled a folded paper from her purse. Because he called me an hour ago. DeAndre's jaw clenched. He what? He said if I don't cooperate, he'll release something worse than the fake DNA report. He said he has proof the baby isn't just illegitimate. He said, she swallowed hard. He said the child's life is tied to something none of us understand. Zara's face went pale. What do you mean? Angela opened the paper. It was a printout of an old medical report, dated 2 years earlier. This came from Miller's files, she said. It says DeAndre's fertility treatments were part of an experimental genetic project. The same project that produced the embryos for your IVF cycles years ago. DeAndre. DeAndre stared. That's not possible. Angela nodded grimly. It is. The same donor cells were used again without consent, this time in a private lab Miller invested in. He knew about the pregnancy before either of you did. Zion isn't just your son. He's the key to a medical patent worth billions. Zara's hands shook as she clutched Zion. He wants my child not for money, but for what's inside him? Angela nodded. Yes, and he'll stop at nothing to get it. DeAndre's face hardened. Then he's already signed his death warrant. Angela stepped closer. You don't understand. He has friends in high places, politicians, investors, even some board members. If you attack him now, you'll look like the villain. We need proof, something undeniable, to bring him down legally. Zara looked up. Where do we get that? Angela took a deep breath. From the same lab that created the report, Eterna Biolab. It's hidden under a shell company in Acadia. If we get the data from their servers, we can expose everything. DeAndre nodded slowly. Then we go tonight. No, Angela said quickly. It's guarded. You'll need clearance to enter. And if they recognize you, it's over. Zara frowned. So what do we do? Angela turned to her. You go. Zara blinked. Me? They don't know your face. You worked as a maid, you can blend in. If you can get inside and copy the files from their main console, we can end this nightmare. DeAndre's hand tightened on the pistol. No, I'm not sending her into danger again. Zara looked up at him, eyes steady. You can't walk into a lab full of your enemies, DeAndre. But I can. I'm used to people not noticing me. Zara. She stood. This isn't just about us anymore. They've already risked my son's life. I won't sit back while you fight for me. Angela reached into her purse and pulled out a small flash drive. This will automatically copy whatever it finds. Plug it into the main terminal labeled Cole gene sequence. Once it flashes green, pull it out and leave immediately. Zara nodded, her fear already swallowed by determination. DeAndre ran a hand over his face, torn. You don't have to do this. Zara looked him straight in the eye. Yes, I do. For Zion. He stared at her, then slowly nodded. If you're going, I'm going too. I'll wait nearby. Angela exhaled. Then hurry. Miller's men will move at dawn. 2 hours later, the rain had stopped, and the streets of Acadia glistened under the flickering streetlights. The lab was tucked inside a quiet business complex, its nameplate reading Eterna Logistics Limited, a disguise for what it really was. Zara approached the building wearing a cleaner's uniform Angela had brought. Her scarf hid most of her face. A small ID tag dangled from her shirt pocket. She pushed her mop bucket through the security gate. The sleepy guard barely looked up. New girl. Yes, sir, she said, keeping her voice low. Night shift replacement. He waved her through. Inside, the lab was cold and sterile, humming with machines. The smell of chemicals hung in the air. She moved slowly, pushing the mop, pretending to clean. Her eyes darted from one hallway to another until she saw it. The door labeled genetic storage room. Her heart pounded. She slipped inside. Rows of computers lined the walls, blinking softly. She found the terminal marked Cole gene sequence and quickly plugged in the flash drive. The screen flickered, lines of data scrolling fast. Copying files, 12%, 38%, 65%. Footsteps echoed in the corridor. Zara froze. Voices approached, 2 men. Miller said to check the system logs before morning, one said. She looked around frantically. There was nowhere to hide. 82%, 93%. The doorknob turned. 100% transfer complete. The flash drive light blinked green. She yanked it out, shoved it into her pocket, and ducked behind a metal cabinet just as the door swung open. The men stepped in, talking casually. Strange. Someone's been in here. Zara held her breath, heart thundering. One of them moved toward the computer. Then his radio crackled. Hey, report to the main gate. Someone's here asking for you. They turned and hurried out. Zara exhaled shakily, whispering a thank you under her breath. She slipped out the back door and into the alley where DeAndre's car waited with the engine running. He opened the door. Got it. She nodded, holding up the flash drive. Let's go. As the car pulled away, a shadow stepped out from a doorway across the street. Miller's assistant, phone in hand, watching them drive off. He smiled faintly. Got you. An hour later, at a small safe house near Maryland, Okoro plugged the flash drive into his laptop. Angela hovered nearby, her face tense. Zara sat beside DeAndre, Zion asleep between them. The screen filled with data, contracts, lab reports, and digital signatures. Okoro whistled softly. Good Lord, this is everything. Proof of illegal experiments, money transfers, fake DNA records. It's all here. DeAndre leaned forward. Send it to the press. Tonight. Okoro shook his head. We'll do better, we'll send it to the Economic Crimes Commission first. Once it's public record, Miller can't bury it. Angela exhaled in relief. So it's over? Okoro hesitated. Almost. He clicked open one final file. Project Zion. Zara frowned. That's my baby's name. The document opened and everyone fell silent. On the screen was a medical summary stating that Zion's DNA carried a unique genetic modification, an experimental therapy coded to cure certain hereditary diseases. It was worth billions. And beneath that was a line of text that froze them all. Subject Zion, property of Eterna Biotech, until legal claim expires. 18 years. Angela gasped. They own your child. DeAndre's eyes darkened with fury. Over my dead body. Before Okoro could speak, the lights in the room flickered. The laptop beeped. Wait, he murmured. The files deleting itself. One by one, the folders began disappearing. Someone's hacking the drive, Okoro shouted. Zara clutched Zion. What's happening? DeAndre grabbed the laptop. Can you stop it? I'm trying. But the screen went black. Then, through the speakers, a voice crackled. Smooth, mocking, familiar. Nice work, DeAndre. You found the truth. But some truths don't belong to you. It was Miller. Enjoy your little victory, he said. Because the real war starts tomorrow. The connection cut off. DeAndre slammed the laptop shut, breathing hard. He's still inside our system, Angela whispered. Then what do we do now? Zara looked at her sleeping baby, tears in her eyes but fire in her voice. Now, she said softly, we make sure the world knows the name Zion Cole, not as a property, but as a person. DeAndre took her hand, his eyes fierce. Then we fight publicly. No more hiding. Outside, thunder rolled again over Lagos, rumbling like an omen. And in a high rise across the city, Miller poured himself another drink, staring at his wall of monitors streaming live footage of the Cole family safe house. He smiled thinly. You can't fight a shadow, he murmured. And by the time they learn that, it'll already be too late. The following morning, Lagos woke to chaos. Every news channel, every blog, every trending feed screamed the same headline. Cole baby at center of billion-dollar genetic scandal. A leaked video, edited with eerie precision, played across every screen. It showed Zara fleeing with Zion, Angela arguing with DeAndre, and a distorted voice claiming the child was manufactured property of Eterna Biotech. The story spread like wildfire. Inside the safe house, DeAndre's phone wouldn't stop ringing. The board, the police, the media, everyone wanted answers. Coro slammed his laptop shut. Miller's using deepfakes. He's controlling the narrative before we can. Zara paced back and forth, holding Zion tight. So the world thinks my baby isn't even human? Angela, pale and exhausted, whispered, "That monster won't stop until he owns everything, including your son's life." DeAndre turned to Okoro. "What if we beat him at his own game?" Coro frowned. "Meaning, we go public," DeAndre said. "On our terms. We tell the real story, everything. The affair, the will, the experiments, all of it. No more hiding, no more secrets." Angela's eyes widened. "You'll destroy yourself, DeAndre. Your reputation, the company." He interrupted, his voice steady and raw. "Let it burn. If the truth costs me my empire, so be it. But he will not own my child." Zara looked at him, torn between fear and awe. "You'd give up everything for us?" DeAndre smiled faintly. "For him," he said, nodding toward Zion. "And for every mother who's ever been told her child didn't deserve to exist." Coro straightened. "Then we do this smart. I'll set up a press conference. You'll need proof." Angela reached into her handbag. "I have one piece left." She pulled out a small metal chip. "I took this from Miller's office before he was arrested. It's encrypted, but the label says Eterna Backup Node. It might have what we need." Coro took it quickly. "Give me 30 minutes." He sat down and connected it to his laptop. Lines of code flashed across the screen, the system humming loudly. Zara rocked Zion gently while DeAndre stood behind Okoro, jaw clenched, waiting. At 27%, the power flickered. At 64%, the windows shook with a distant rumble. At 92%, the door burst open. 3 men in black suits stormed in, guns drawn. "Step away from the computer!" Zara screamed, clutching Zion. DeAndre shoved Okoro aside and ducked as bullets shattered the glass. Angela screamed, diving to the floor. DeAndre grabbed the pistol from the table and fired back, hitting one attacker in the shoulder. "Zara, go!" Zara hesitated. "I can't leave you. Go!" he shouted. "Protect our son." Tears streaming down her face, Zara ran toward the back door. Angela scrambled after her, grabbing a small duffel bag. They fled into the narrow alley behind the safe house, the sound of gunfire echoing behind them. Inside, DeAndre ducked behind the couch, reloading. One of the men shouted, "Take him alive! Miller wants him breathing." DeAndre's eyes darkened. "Over my dead body." He fired again, the shot hitting the lead gunman square in the chest. The others retreated, dragging their wounded partner away. When the last echo faded, DeAndre slumped against the wall, breathing hard. Coro groaned. "You all right?" "Fine," DeAndre said, checking the laptop. The upload had reached 100%. The files were saved. He yanked out the chip and stuffed it into his jacket. "Let's move before they circle back." Meanwhile, Zara and Angela stumbled into an abandoned factory on the edge of Acacia. Rain had begun to fall again, dripping through holes in the roof. Zara leaned against a rusted beam, catching her breath. Angela turned to her. "We can't keep running forever." Zara nodded weakly. "I know." Suddenly, a familiar voice echoed through the empty hall. "You're right, Zara. You can't." They froze. Miller stepped out from the shadows, flanked by 2 of his men. His suit was immaculate, his smile calm, his eyes ice-cold. "I must say," he said softly, "you've been impressive, but this is where the fairy tale ends." Angela's voice shook. "Miller, please. She's just a girl." He chuckled. "A girl holding my future in her arms. You really think I'd let her walk away?" Zara backed up, clutching Zion. "You're a monster." "No," he said. "I'm a businessman. You're an investment. And that child, he's my insurance." "You're lying," she spat. That baby belongs to me and DeAndre. Miller's smirk deepened. You mean the same DeAndre who built his empire using my research? The same man who's about to lose everything because he couldn't control his desires. He raised his hand. Give me the child, Zara. You can still live. Zara shook her head, tears streaking her face. Over my dead body. Miller sighed. So be it. He nodded to his men. They took a step forward, then a gunshot cracked through the air. One of Miller's guards dropped instantly. Miller spun around. What the? DeAndre stood at the far end of the hall, soaked, furious, gun smoking in his hand. Step away from my family. Miller's face twisted. You're too late, DeAndre. He gestured at the laptop one of his men carried. While you were busy playing hero, I already uploaded your confession to every network. By now, Cole Holdings is finished. You've lost your empire. DeAndre's tone was calm, deadly. Empires can be rebuilt. But I only need one thing tonight. Miller smirked. And what's that? DeAndre's eyes flicked to Zion. My son breathing. Miller laughed softly. Do you really think you can kill me, DeAndre? You're too clean for that. DeAndre didn't blink. Clean died the day you touched my family. He fired. The bullet hit Miller square in the chest. The man staggered, eyes wide with shock, blood spreading across his white shirt. He dropped to his knees, staring at DeAndre in disbelief. You fool. You just made yourself a murderer. DeAndre stepped closer. No, I made myself a father. Miller collapsed, the light fading from his eyes. The rain pounded harder against the roof. Zara stood frozen, trembling. Angela covered her mouth, tears spilling down. DeAndre tossed the gun aside and sank to his knees beside Zara and Zion, pulling them close. It's over, he whispered. He can't hurt us anymore. Zara broke down in his arms, sobbing in relief. Angela turned away, whispering a quiet prayer through her tears. Days later, the Real story broke. Okoro submitted the unedited Eterna biotech files to the Economic Crimes Commission, exposing years of corruption and illegal genetic experiments. Miller's entire network collapsed. The Cole family's innocence was proven publicly. News stations aired the truth. Zion Cole was the rightful heir and the first naturally conceived child of DeAndre Cole after years of infertility. No experiments, no modifications. The scandal that nearly destroyed them instead made them legends. But fame came with a price. DeAndre was arrested for Miller's death, but released on bail after evidence showed self-defense. Angela withdrew from public life, donating half her estate to children's hospitals. And Zara, she disappeared quietly with Zion, far from the city's noise, choosing peace over headlines. 6 months later, in a small coastal village near Betagree, Zara stood on a sandy beach at sunset, holding Zion's hand as he toddled across the wet sand. The sea breeze ruffled her scarf. She smiled faintly, whispering, "You're safe now, my son." Behind her, footsteps approached. She turned and froze. DeAndre stood there, dressed simply in a linen shirt, eyes tired but gentle. "I found you," he said softly. Zara's lips trembled. "You shouldn't have." "I had to," he said, stepping closer. "The company is gone, the board dissolved, but I don't care. I came for my family." She stared at him, torn between anger and love. "After everything, you still want me?" He nodded. "I lost everything chasing power, but I found the only two things that ever mattered, truth and you." Zion toddled toward him, giggling, tiny hands reaching up. DeAndre knelt, tears filling his eyes as he lifted his son. "Hey, little man," he whispered. "Daddy's here." The boy smiled, pressing his small hand against his father's cheek. Zara watched them, heart full. For the first time in months, she felt peace. Not the fragile kind born of fear, but the deep kind born of survival. DeAndre looked at her. "Can we start over?" She hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Only if you promise one thing. Anything. No more secrets." He smiled. "Never again." The waves crashed softly behind them as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky gold and crimson. Zara stepped closer, taking his hand. Then let's go home. And as they walked along the shore, Zion's laughter echoing in the wind, it felt, at last, as if the storm had finally ended.